Okay, so I'm gonna end up selling the little 400 watt turbine, the one that I really like. And in the process of doing that, I was taking it apart, making sure that there's nothing wrong with the stator or the core. I did abuse it a little bit. Wanted to make sure that if somebody bought it, they got out of it what I was getting out of it. I want to make sure somebody gets a decent turbine. And since I've got it apart, it gives me a good opportunity to show you guys the difference between a good Chinese turbine and a crummy Chinese turbine. Now, most of the little 400 and 500 watt turbines that I've brought in off of eBay and Amazon and stuff, they have not worked very well. And this has been the one exception of a small turbine that worked, exceptionally well. I'm going to show you why. Now, this turbine, this stator came out of a turbine that was on eBay, rated for 500 watts, allegedly. I never saw anything like that out of this turbine. I saw very little output. And if you look at it compared, let's get the camera down here. If you look at it compared to the turbine that worked, the wire gauge on the turbine, on the 400, is a little bit thicker. These coils are pretty sloppy, but the wire's thicker than what we've got over here. I don't have my mic out here, so I can't really measure it and show you exactly. But also with the cheap turbine, there's a lot more wires that are loose and just kind of flopping around. Whenever that rotor's going on this thing, those little wires will wiggle around and they'll sing and hum and they'll make noise. So, I mean, that should all be coated and tight and stuck together. This one, there are some loose wires, but nowhere near as much. The coils are packed a lot more tightly, and there's just so much more of it. You can see that, over here, those coils, they're going all the way down to the bottom of the case. Whereas this one, and these turbines do have the same nose cone. There's a considerable air gap underneath there. So, a lot more copper, bigger wire, and just packed together more neatly and more tightly. And now that's not the only thing. There's also this. Let's get this set back up and point it in the right direction. This is the rotor out of the cheap 500. You see there's tiny little magnets, and there's just not a whole lot of magnet material. They're about an 1/8 inch thick. There's 12 of them. Yeah, 12 of them. About maybe an inch long, maybe half an inch wide. So that's what's driving the stator. This is the rotor that's out of the 400, and of course I can't take I can't take it apart to show you exactly how big the magnets are, but there is so much more magnet material there. The magnets compared to the 500 that came off of eBay, these things are huge. So if you pull up, buy a cheap turbine, and you're wanting to know what you're getting into, you can probably take the thing apart straight away. And if you see a thick, packed stator like that one, it's probably going to be okay. And if it's got great big, massive batteries on the rotor like this, it's probably going to do all right. If it's cheap, loose wire, small wire like that one with tiny little magnets, it's probably going to struggle. But I am willing to bet that most of it comes from this rotor. I bet if I put this rotor in that cheap stator, it'd probably burn the stator up eventually. But they get a lot more, I'd probably gotten a lot more power out of it. I think the peak that I saw out of this thing was 200 watts driving it with a drill and really pushing the thing. This thing, this 400, I saw a peak of 1200 watts out of it one day. Now, that was blowing 65 mile an hour wind. So it's an unrealistic peak and not something you should shoot for, but in that same wind, we're talking 200 watts. So, that's that. I just thought it was really neat. I wanted to share it. So, you guys have a wonderful day. And if anybody's interested in this turbine, let me know.